touching the matter in issue,
touching the matter in issue,
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Honorable Ambrose Dery. Report to the bar in the year 1981?
82.
1982.
17th December.
Right. You've been a very senior practicing lawyer. At the point you are the only lawyer practicing the whole of Eastern, Upper East and Upper West region. The leader of the bar, President, yes. Secretary, and Assistant Secretary of the Upper East Bar, a member of the National Council.
I was blessed. I was the president for many years.
Yes. For so many years, yes. And you were ever present at the bar conferences.
That is so, Honorable Chairman.
Former Deputy Attorney General, former Regional Minister, former Ministers of State, third-term Member of Parliament, and Minister for Interior in the previous Parliament and the previous government. Now you've been nominated again as the Minister for Interior. Is there anything else you want to share with us apart from what I've related, which are all in your CV anyway?
Honorable Chairman, I have nothing else to add except to say that it's an honor to appear before you to answer questions and hopefully be up.
Very well. Reverend, yes, I'm starting with you. No, sorry, I agree that I'll start with Honorable Quarter. Yes, Honorable Quarter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Ambrose Dery, congratulations on your nominations as a Minister of the Interior Designate.
Thank you.
Honorable nominee, in the security agencies, there is this name or word that comes up called CAPTIN. Respectfully, what is CAPTIN? And the follow-up will be, I just want to lump them all together. Most of the security personnel have been complaining about CAPTIN. Sometimes they think that it has come to stay, and then sometimes they say government is taking it away from them. So what is CAPTIN, and what assurances would you give the committee when you are giving the nod that indeed CAPTIN has come to stay and will take care of all the personnel among the security and architecture?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. CAPTIN is one system of pension remuneration, and the law has been that except the Ghana Armed Forces, after some period of time, which is almost near, all the other agencies were supposed to move on to the Senate and other pension systems. When I was privileged to be Minister for the Interior, as part of the welfare package for the agencies, security agencies under the Ministry of the Interior, we thought that this was one area that we could maintain the security agencies, namely the police, immigration, fire service, prison service, and the intelligence agencies on that same CAPTIN. And what happened was that went to Cabinet approved, and we've now reached a stage where there's supposed to be an amendment of the law, but that law does not operate under the Ministry of the Interior, but under the Ministry of Employment. So, as we heard in the State of the Nation by His Excellency the President, we are firmly maintaining CAPTIN as the pension system on which our security agencies.
Chairman, just clarity from the Minister nominee. Cabinet approved what? And what amendment or what law is to be amended? Just for clarity. Which law?
Well, I don't know what to call the law on pensions.
Act 766?
Yes.
You are very certain about it.
Yes. And
what aspect of the law is to be amended?
No, it was a period of time that was fixed, by which time only the armed forces were going to be left on captivity. So if you don't amend that, then that means that it will lapse and they would have to go to the Senate system.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so the assurances are that the security agencies or personnel under the security agencies will continue to enjoy captivity.
That's true, with the support of this August House. They would continue to do so. And I have no doubt that the support I got from the
Chairman,
House.
again, clarity. They would enjoy captivity subject to an amendment of a law, or they would enjoy captivity. They are not the same. They are two different statements. They will enjoy captivity, as I heard you, subject to an amendment of a law. Is that the case?
That is so, and the law is going to be amended. One of the major things that we have to do timelessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Name first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, I want to go into two areas. The first one has to do with recruitment. Under the policy of transparency and openness as far as recruitment into the various security services are concerned, various governments have tried to modify the recruitment process with the recent recruitment platform. But then one key aspect of recruitment over these years is the advertisement of recruitment by the various security services. I personally have noted with some apprehension the number of times that we've heard recruitments being done by the security services during the past 4 years without any form of advertisement. Can you tell me, on page 4 of your handover notes, you've noted that 9,860 personnel have been recruited in the various security services. At what times were these people recruited? Was it advertised? If it was advertised, which sort of medium was used to advertise for these people to create opportunity for all Ghanaians to apply to enter the security services?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. In 2018, the agencies under the Ministry of the Interior used the e-recruitment system and actually advertised. And the applications were online. The Honorable Member of Parliament, I believe, will recall the outcry, the uproar. The number of applicants so far exceeded the vacancies that were available. Apart from the police, the other agencies were recruiting no more than 1,000. And that led to me being summoned before the Council of State. I appeared before the Council of State, and the Council of State said that they thought that what they saw was indecent, and that if you are going to advertise, you take about 1,000 people, and over 80,000 apply, and most of them having the qualification. They thought it was a ripoff, and therefore they did not think that it was fair for us to continue to repeat that until we have cleared those people who we got, who are qualified, before we can open up again. You will recall that this matter came up, and the various agencies, IGP for the police, Controller General for others, came and explained that they had a backlog of qualified Ghanaian applicants, and that pursuant to that problem that we had, they continue to recruit from that. Listen, so it is not a deviation from that. In fact, the former chairman for the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Defense and Interior, and I'm sure Honorable Gauga will monitor it. And so what we have been doing was to try and make sure that we recruited from that pool that had applied. Of course, that can continue in the next term. We have to start again. But this was a problem that came up, and I went to the Council of State with the commanders, and that was a position that was taken. And this was explained severally in the media over the time. So there is no recruitment under the Ministry of Interior that is any secret. And I need to emphasize that is the agencies which recruit, not the ministry. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, some little bit of laxity here. I want the nominee to explain further. Was it the issue of the police service which had that over recruitment of all the security agencies? Prison service,
all the security agencies.
Fire service.
Fire service was even worse. All the security agencies, and Honorable Chairman, if you want a full report, I can submit it later. All the security agencies. And this, the media had met the various commanders, and it was explained to them what had happened.
So after that exercise, there has not been any advertisement for subsequent recruitment?
Being that, until they finished again. And I don't think that this number that we've taken, maybe I've cleared, but what I do know is that I'm not bound by that sort of decision that was taken in the last term.
Mr. Chairman, my second question. At your last vetting, I remember very well, for this same position, one of the principal issues you talk about was the poor accommodation situation for security personnel. Mr. Nominee, after 4 years, let me say that for the past 3 days, I've spent time going around the various barracks in Accra. There has not been any significant change in the situation of security personnel. In fact, some of the police service personnel are sleeping in the hand-cooped structures they live in together with their children and their belongings on the veranda. The same with the prison service. As for the fire service, they don't even have anything you can talk about calling it a barracks. I went to private houses where the police service have rented also as accommodation for personnel. Same situation. The accommodation situation of security personnel in this country is appalling. You promised 4 years ago you were going to do something about it. Tell me, what have you done?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I promised to do a number of things because the security agencies face a number and a lot of challenges. Accommodation being one of them. But let me tell you the very basic challenge that I met was, first of all, the conditions. We had to introduce rent allowance that was not applicable. One of the first things that I got a shock of was within the first 3 weeks after taking office, I went to the police headquarters for a ceremony. Widows and orphans of police officers who died in the course of duty were at that meeting, and philanthropists, whom I'm grateful to, were giving them 2,000, 3,000. It transpired that there was no system that actually took care of the compensation packages of the agencies across board. There was also no promotion People have not been promoted for a long time. We instructed that all should be done, and I can tell you that it has been done. But now coming back to one of the things that I felt really strongly about, which is the package. By the time we had the unfortunate incident at Kwabenya, we had worked out a package where even a lump sum of about 185,000 was going to be payable. We then also wanted to be sure that the compensation package, remuneration packages across the security agencies were equitable. And that led to a number of adjustments. And as I talk to you now, we got just at the end of the year into this year, a 10% kit allowance to apply across board. In that context, there has been some progress. The police have got some projects ongoing with Amandi. But we realized that accommodation, we had to do it with a private partner arrangement. As I talked to you, for instance, immigration has got 84 accommodation units at South Odoko that we are going to commission soon. So yes, what has happened over the 4 years is work in progress of proposal that people are bringing. Finance did not have the legal framework within which to deal with private public arrangements. And you recall that is the 7th Parliament that passed the law late in the year. So what I can tell you is that the accommodation matter is still an issue. It's work in progress, but to ameliorate the situation, we decided to deal with this rent allowance as a transition. I haven't abandoned anything. I'm going to continue, if approved, to work on this. But I want to tell you that the situation of our security agencies over the years have been rather deplorable, because we have not, as a nation, invested sufficiently. This house has been an ally. Anytime I come to this house, I get the support, and everybody has been supportive to get us to make the progress that we've made so far. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one of the most important aspects of training for security personnel is what we call within their rank, the jaka, meaning their dressing, their appearance. It was almost a taboo to see a policeman wearing beard.
Wearing what?
Beard.
Beard.
Having the hair bushy, hair grown over the... it was almost over the period for the past 4 years. We've seen a new crop of police personnel with beard, some male police personnel wearing earrings, some with tattoos, the ladies with piercings. Is it the police service moving into a contemporary fashion trend, or maintaining the discipline within the service?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I want to note what you have raised now. By Article 202 Clause 2, operational matters and administration of the police is under the IGP. What I have not found is that there has been a deterioration in discipline to the extent that it has interfered with us achieving our goal of making people feel safe in the country. This is a matter I have to raise with him, but like I said, I have not felt any deterioration. On the contrary, I think that the police service is more active now, better trained. We now have a counter-terrorism place in Honya where they go for frequent training, and discipline is one of the things that we install there. But this is an observation that I'll make known to the IGP and see what has to be sure that it doesn't go beyond the cosmetic. Thank you.
Chairman, just with your indulgence, you just referred to Article 2022 of the 1992 Constitution, emphasizing the role and responsibility of the Inspector General of Police. But, Chairman, with your indulgence, I quote, "The Inspector General of Police shall be head of the police service and shall," this is my emphasis, "and shall, subject to the provisions of this article and to the control and direction of the Police Council." Police Council. So are you just consulting the IGP, or the council will get involved to appreciate the very issue that the Honorable Milante have raised, whether it's become new for them to depart from known culture of how they dress, how they look, is part of conduct and discipline? If you can respond to that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chairman, I thought what I said was that I have not observed that trend. What the council ensures is that there is discipline. And so far, the council has not had any cause to have problems with the discipline that we have in the police service, let alone relating it to growing of beard. The turnout of police is smart because we are attending to the uniform challenge that we have and what we've been doing. Maybe I might have seen one or two police, but I may have added my mind to it. Admittedly, except that is a policy on discipline. But the details, we would need to have the input of the citizen. I'll raise it at the council, but the IGP would have to tell us what it actually means in their operational matters. I must not, and we must not interfere with them.
Yes, Reverend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Honorable Minister nominee. My first question is to do with Sustainable Development Goal 16, which highlights control over crimes and flow of arms. And on that note, may I refer you to Sustainable Development Goal 16, which highlights control over crimes and flow of arms. And to refer you to UNDP report published in October 2020, where they indicate that as of October 2020, 1.1 million illicit weapons and small arms were in circulation in the country. And additionally, out of the 1.2 million registered arms in the country, only 40,000 licenses are renewed annually. Partly, they attribute this phenomenon to porosity of our borders. What would you do, when given the nod, to address this phenomenon and to ensure that our borders are safeguarded, and also to ensure that the illicit arms that are currently in circulation in the country are clamped on?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We apply the law on licensing to enable you to possess arms or a gun. That we enforce. But beyond that, we have the Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, which is trying to bring sanity into our country and is marking guns using our national law and also the ECOWAS code on it. They've confiscated a number of unlicensed arms and they've destroyed some. But I believe that we also haven't signed to be the armed, part of the armed treaty. We are working hard on the control list, and the control list has now come to the ministry. We're going to put it in, send it before cabinet, and come to parliament later. So it's a multifaceted approach, and we are trying to enforce the law. It's not an easy thing. It's work in progress. We are going to continue to do that.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. To my next question, the challenge that principally confronts your sector has been inadequate logistics. But not only that, but also when within the modest means of the state, logistics are made available, the inequitable deployment of those logistics. What would you do to ensure availability of optimum levels of logistics when given the nod, and also to the consequent equitable deployment of those resources and logistics across the various security agencies and also across the various locations, in particular rural areas? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. The past 4 years has seen some improvement in logistical support. Yes, we haven't been able to get it equitably distributed all over, but because we have to consider that we start with the main agency for mental law and order, which is the police. We've got 740 vehicles, various descriptions for them, 179 motorbikes. We know we've introduced different units, new units, and airing. We've trained 6 pilots who are passed out and back in the country. We've ordered helicopters, the hangars and the construction. We've introduced a K9 unit which deals with dogs, and we also building the capacity of the marine unit with some boats. So across board, yes, we are providing some resources. But we will first to admit that we have not done enough yet. If you go to immigration, we have about 100 vehicles there. When you go across to the other agencies, we are playing catch up with them. For instance, prisons can boast about 15, but we are planning to get them more. Fire service, we help with a few. Fire service didn't have the capacity to deal with fire. We're on the 5th floor. We've introduced equipment that we are checking now, which can enhance our capacity to go up to 16 floors and 500 meters beyond that. So it's an ongoing process. Again, the President did make the commitment, made available 800 million to start the police transformation. This House did approve, and at every stage they will come with budgets here. The House does not only approve, but also laments the inadequate funding arrangement that has been put in place, and therefore I continue to rely on the House, and moving forward, we would increase that resource allocation and be able to make Ghana a safer place. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dery. I understand you have gone. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes. Ranking member first.
Honorable Minister nominee, my first question has to do with the wave of crime in our country, and I'd like to confine myself to 2 issues. First is the upsurge in armed robbery cases in our country. This month alone, a number of incidents have been reported, the most disturbing ones being the shooting to death of an ambulance driver who was drafted to transport a pregnant woman from Akuse to the Koforidua Eastern Regional Hospital. He was shot dead. The paramedic on board was raped by the gunmen. Now, if you go to the Upper East region, and you at the Upper East region is your home, the stretch between Tamale and Bolgatanga is not passable these days. In fact, this month, at dawn on the 13th of February, 2 truck drivers were shot dead around the Kusinamong area, and you are very familiar with the geography of the area. In my own backyard, Sandema, as I speak, in fact, and I should say I speak with a heavy heart, a man who trades in goats and sheep left Sandema for Ketu to buy sheep on the Sandema Pass last Sandema market day. On his way back, he was accosted by armed robbers and shot dead. I mean, the incidents are numerous to be counted here. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is a clear case of an upsurge in armed robbery cases. Then we talk about communal violence. That is the second issue. the people of Kandiga and Doba have been at war since March last year. What is the response of the Ministry of Interior?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Armed robbery and violent crime is a matter of concern, and we are determined to fight it. Let me start by expressing condolence to all families who have lost their loved ones in the commitment of these offenses. So, like I said, it doesn't matter the number. It's something that we need to deal with seriously. But just to demonstrate that it might not necessarily be an upsurge, because if one criterion doesn't support an upsurge, but that is no excuse. But it's just important that we put matters in context. In January of 2020, the whole country we had robbery, violent crime, 138. This year, 121. But what has happened this year is special. The victims are high-profile victims. This unfortunate incident with the ambulance is most abominable. Ambulances must be safe places when we are conveying our sick to the hospital. Some arrangements have been put in place immediately. As I speak to you, we've deployed patrols and combat patrols along the pipe. The tomato traders are now escorted. We've deployed along that area, and we have actually moved staff and resources to do something about it. And I can assure you that one of the things we need to work on, we have committed to working on, is the Northern Border Security Project, which is going to actually help us in the northern regions, because we are going to have immigration now that we are arming. We're going to have different lines for soldiers to support, and the deployment is going to be actually increased. What I must admit is that the criminals change their modus from time to time, and we need to change. We are introducing by the police, the 10th city concept is being introduced. SNAP checkpoints are also being introduced. But I can assure you that going forward in the next 2-3 weeks, you would find a different scenario. In the case of Dover, that area, when it all started, the first thing we thought we could do was to impose a curfew, which we did. But the demand for curfew hours kept increasing, and we did not think that was the right thing to do. Clearly, we need to site a police station there and increase police deployment there. As we sit down, we were about 33,000 police. 2017, we're about 40,000 police now. The police tell us that they need 10,000 police every year to be able to cope with what is happening. We've moved it to finance. We want to see how many we can deal with that. In that context, the general paucity of police personnel also affects Parliament. Parliament is an Article 71 institution, but all over the years, we have not been able to meet our obligation to make sure that every MP has a bodyguard and a day and night watchman. The number we have here is 124. We'll be needing 800. But all that is work in progress that we are working towards achieving. Having said that, let me also say that there have been some arrests in some of the cases. The one that happened in Obuasi, and we are making progress in all those other ones. I need to thank the populace, security experts, members of parliament, of course, and the general public for cooperating in all this. We have not lost control, but we are the first to admit that we need to up our game, and we're going to up our game. You soon see a change in personnel that's being reflected, and with it would come some hope. But we need to continue to equip our police, to continue to train them, and once again, we are going to fight them. We are not going to give up.
A follow-up on Dover. Beyond attempting to use law enforcement to curtail the violence there, are you considering the option of using soft options such as bringing the warring parties to a round table to try to foster some peace and unity amongst them?
Thank you, Chairman. We are doing that, but that is led by Peace Council. Peace Council is one of the agencies under the Ministry of Interior. The Peace Council is on that course, trying to bring a difference. And I must add that at your corner, we have a paucity of police personnel and other security agencies there, and we will continue to work.
Designate. There have been calls by well-meaning Ghanaians and some civil society organizations, notably the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, for an independent police complaints commission to be established to deal with complaints that has to do with the police service whenever the police service are fingered in some form of misconduct in their operational activities or their general relationships with the general public. Now, this particular proposition, according to the proponents, definitely would enhance effective police accountability to the general public. The previous government initiated the attempt to have the Independent Police Complaints Commission established. It's been 4 years. What is your view of the matter?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We accept that in principle. Actually, the Commonwealth Group met the Police Council, and we are not adverse to that, because we think that there are two ways of enhancing police accountability. First, the internal, which we have within the police, and the external. What we all need to think through is, what form should that independent body take? In the first place, yes, it should be. But we should work in a way that that body also is accountable. When anything happens under our remit, ministers are called to this house, which is a house most suited to ensure accountability, representing the people. So what we need to work out is, should it be a state institution, such as maybe human rights, or what should it be? We need to work out a legal framework, but we welcome it because we would want to ensure that we increase police accountability. After all, you have internal audit and external audit. Along those same lines, we are in support of the matter in principle. But I think we need to work together. You have been at the ministry. We would welcome any ideas of seeing how we can put that in place.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, the first one was a follow-up, so this is my third.
No, after the follow-up,
yes.
You asked this one after the follow-up, and that was your third.
This will be the third. That one was a follow-up. The Dover was a follow-up.
Yes, and this, what he just finished
Last
answering
one, very short.
was your third. There's no follow-up from this answer, is there?
Very short.
Very well.
Finally, yes. Honorable nominee, there have been concerns raised by a section of the public that amongst the top echelon of the police service, the top brass, the outfit is now populated by retiree officers who have been granted contracts, or if you like, extension of a service in a manner that violates the Constitution. And this violation definitely affects the career progression of senior officers who haven't attained the age of 60 in the service. Is this position true? If it is, how do you intend to deal with it because of its constitutional implications?
Honorable Chairman, thank you very much. First of all, no police officer has stayed beyond 65 years. It is only then that it can be unconstitutional. Secondly, as a policy, we have had people on contract as a transitional arrangement. In the past 6 months, 2 have gone on retirement. It was within the law for us to extend. We have not extended. But you have been there, and we need to look at the example of the military. When you have soldiers who the state has invested in, and they get to a general position, there is a flexible retirement age arrangement there. Brigadiers go at 60, major generals go at 63, and lieutenant generals go at 65. So it's difficult for you to see officers on contract there. When I came to office as Minister for Interior, the IGP I met was on contract. Understandably so sometimes, because I believe the previous government found a good reason for doing that. So yes, we are not going to clock the place with retirees, no. We will only deal with it now. We are reducing them, and I don't know how many they are. I don't think there are that many. But we are promoted the highest number of deputy commissioners and commissioners, meaning that we are pushing them to get to a stage that they should go on retirement. However, as you know, you've been in the ministry, there was a certain situation, especially a security problem we've had since before independence, and a particular officer was dealing with the locals. We were making progress. Then we got representation from the people we were dealing with that they had found good chemistry, and that the programs that we had, they had confidence in that particular person. We naturally extended to achieve that goal. So the principle is that we are not going to increase people on contract, with a simple caveat, the only caveat being that when the exigencies of the time dictated, we will do so, but will not do so beyond the constitutional limit, and we will not do so as a policy to be permanent. No. So let them rest assured that we don't intend clogging and making sure they don't get their promotions. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the honorable nominee. We are beginning to notice an increase, and in fact a troubling trend of an increase in police officers who are committing suicide in Ghana. Between January and now, there has been several media reports about police officers committing suicide. What do you think is the cause of this problem, and how will you address it?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. First of all, those remain allegations. Our directive is that let them be thoroughly investigated. to be sure that they are suicide. Having said that, we have drawn the attention of the police that there is a need to build a strong counseling department. Because I do not think that the system we have now is enough to guide people. We've also said that the religious leaders, you have the imams and the chaplains in the military, is decentralized. So every place that you go, you have them. With the police, it's centralized in Accra. And Honorable Chairman, we all know that even us, one time or the other, you go to your leaders in faith when you are facing challenges to be counseled. So yes, first, we want to ensure that they have not been killed and being put forward as suicide. But moving forward, we are working out to decentralize and make sure every region, every district has an imam, a pastor, priest. Those sort of counseling is going to let us be able to reduce these things. If it is the case.
Chairman, if I can come in, to quote your words, let them be thoroughly investigated. What the Honorable Member for Ejisu is seeking to find out from you, suicide and its growing incident, has it been brought to your attention? Is it being investigated? Will you investigate it?
Yes, the suicide has been brought to my notice recently, starting with the first death of the officer, ESP, then the second and third. And immediately I got wind of that. I engaged them. And that is where these ideas came out. For instance, the Psychology Association of Ghana has been contacted to provide interim, interventions at the various levels. So my attention has been drawn to that, and I have, as I do in every case, insisted that it should be thoroughly investigated. But beyond that, decentralization, increasing of religious heads, and the functioning counseling department will be useful. For instance, in the army, when people are going on retirement, they are prepared. There's a counseling system that invites them and prepares them. You are going next year in 2 years, because we don't have that in the police. So this is one of the best practices that we are encouraging the police to put in place to be able to stabilize the situation so that we stem the suicides, if there are suicides, and then we punish them if there are no suicides.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One last point. Minister Designate for Interior. The Gaming Commission is an agency under the Ministry of Interior. In recent years, we have seen huge increase in number of youths who are actively engaging in online gambling. Unfortunately, we do not have legislation regulating activities within the space of online gambling in Ghana. What will the Ministry of Interior do to ensure that we don't lose our youth to online gambling addiction, which of course is a global problem? And what will you support a legislation to be passed to this effect?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. This is a very important matter, and I do thank you for bringing it up. I've had to go to the Council of State. They were concerned about it. We thought that gambling, if at all, should be restricted to certain places for elite who want to go and do whatever they want to do within the law. But the villages, we've engaged Ministry of Local Government and district assemblies. We need to save our children. All of us, I'm sure, have seen it. You go campaigning in the village, and you go to a Pito bar, and you find some piece of equipment there. So we have been trying to check it. One way is that we've begun opening offices all over the country. We got Tamale now, and Shobalga, and the rest of them. We need to get the technical people in there. But yes, I'll welcome a law that will check that. because we cannot have a nation of gamblers.
Honorable Minister, I thought the issue was online. What you're talking about seeing equipment physically, is that used to do online gambling?
No, online gambling is it gets into the cyber area, and I'm sure that there's already a interministerial committee under His Excellency the Vice President trying to fight that. But the gaming has to do with these machines that you find in the villages where children go and put money and pull some lever, and they either get or don't get, and it's corrupting our people.
But I'm trying to find out if we have no information or we have no idea like me, it's okay. Is it possible to block those online games from accessing our territory in Ghana?
Yes, it is, but we need to build our cyber security capacity. Honorable Chairman, I have got my pictures put up by several people promising protocol recruitment in the offices. As recent as yesterday, we arrested a security officer who was part of 24 people, collected 10,000 from them. You pull down one side and another side comes up. Indeed, I was privileged to be in Israel for some conference, and I think the Israelis are working on some model, and they invited Facebook there, and we are keeping a close watch that if something positive happens, we could bring that here to help our system. But yes, we do that. But after we do, others come. We are trying. We are working hard.
Yes, Honorable. Is it a follow-up? Okay.
Chair, Honorable Chair, Honorable Nominee, I recognize your answer fully, especially relative to the question that was just posed. But my concern really is, and that you mentioned prominently, interministerial committee. Interministerial committee. Yes, is it the case that the police service do not have the capacity to deal with such crime, such online crime, and hence we have to defer to the interministerial committee?
No, we've set up some lab. The capacity is limited. We are building it, but what we are actually doing is enhancing our capacity by linking up. The communications is the lead ministry as far as that is concerned, fortunately on the national security, and so we work together just to benefit from the synergy, but we are building the capacity of the police by itself, and we are getting some assistance as far as technical interventions are concerned. Chairman, maybe one day we have to make a decision as a nation as to whether we need to allow security agencies, sometimes subject to certain preconditions, to be able to use technology without compromising privacy is an option open to us. Because those places that we have used technology to assist in our investigations, we've got positive results faster than where we did not use them. But it's a collective responsibility, and I would want to depend on this House at the appropriate time.
Yes, Mr. Dery, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Nominee, I take you to page 178 of your handing over notes. Our prisons are overcrowded. You may not need it. The one with agencies, the volume 3. National Disaster Management one, yes. Page 178.
178.
Yes. Our prisons are overcrowded. No doubt about that, in clear violation of the human rights of the inmates.
Page 178.
8.
8.
Yes, please.
What do we have there? Maybe I'm the wrong one because I've seen Savannah region, Nissan Patrol.
178 before 179. Volume 3. The one that has NADMO.
Yeah, NADMO. Okay. That's not the one. Also the one with the police.
Okay, so that's volume 3.
179.
Can I proceed? Yes. So our prisons are overcrowded in clear violation of the human rights of the inmates. As if that is not bad enough.
Hold on, madam. Let me get to where you are.
It is
178. Yes? Say again.
okay. So now that we are there, I'm saying that our prisons are overcrowded in clear violation of the human rights of the inmates. And as if this is not bad enough, it is promoting the spread of diseases. And I am dreading COVID. Meanwhile, we have an opportunity to decongest our prisons. And this is, I'm having the non-custodial sentence, a law on non-custodial sentence in mind. Fortunately for us, the NDC started stakeholder consultation in 2015, 2016. What is the status of the non-custodial sentence law, and what do you intend doing if you are given the nod? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We continued with the concept of communal service. We started with community sentencing law, but as we involved more stakeholders, when the judiciary came in, they brought a certain, angle to it, a certain facet to it that we welcomed. He said it shouldn't be sentencing, it should be community service law. We are working on that. What we are now challenged to do is, what is the impact? Do we have case studies? And we have to go to cabinet on it. That is not all. In the meantime, we want to reform the whole prison system. There's a law we want to amend the prisons. The president has given over 2,700 persons amnesty. And yes, I'm one of those people who doesn't believe in custodial laws. I've been a private practitioner for a long time. So it's something that we need to do. In the meantime, we're trying to see how we manage the spacing that we have. But we haven't given it up. In fact, the last intervention we had from the judiciary was really very powerful. And I'm happy you are coming in as an advocate. I'll be glad to get your input on the matter so that we can, enrich the discourse. Yes, we are going on with the community service bill that we are working on. But I believe our ideas will be enriched by your input. So, Madam, I'll be prepared to get from you.
My next question is on NADMO. Yes. MPs have become the financial directors of NADMO by default.
What did you say, MPs?
Yes, members of parliament.
How long have you been a member of parliament?
Yes, sir.
So I will end and you understand. Because NADMO is always constrained with cash. Members of parliament end up filling the gap whenever there is a disaster. And I think that they don't have enough resources to do that. When giving the nod, what policy will you put in place to ensure that NADMO is well resourced to take care of disasters anytime they happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I believe the Honorable Agalga would support me when I say that we've got bills over the years, and in some cases we've been sent to court. NADMO has been sent to court to pay up. Yes, we make the proposal, we continue to make the proposal, and yes, it is true that when people are caught in disasters, we, the MPs, have to go. We must also acknowledge other philanthropists who do come. But yes, you have an advocate in me to try to get funding for NADMO. At the same time, we also try to be proactive by the Sandai, reduction of disaster frameworks and education. But having said that, we need to resource NADMO more than we are doing now. And I agree with you. I will be on your side.
Ambrose.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Nominee. Honorable Nominee, forgive me. My question is on the outbreak of these pandemics. This morning, CNN reported that there's Ebola outbreak in Guinea, resulting already in 7 deaths. I think that we are already battling COVID in this country. What would you say that your ministry will do once you are confirmed in collaboration with other state institutions to make sure that at least we don't have Ebola in addition to COVID to battle with?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think it's a matter of concern. That was partly one of the reasons why the borders were closed over a period of time. But as you know, our borders, we have over 200 unapproved routes that we're working to see how we can address that. Yes, I would work with other agencies to make sure health, the technical capacity, and immigration. Yes, we have to work and make sure. We have to also pray hard, but I'm committed to making sure that we protect our borders as much as possible, and that's why we are building up immigration. You would remember or recall that it was a state parliament that passed a law giving immigration the legal support to be the front line. And so the last 4 years we spent trying to build their capacity. Now we've got them some equipment that makes them more offensive. They are also being trained at Honya from time to time. It's frequent, continuous, to toughen them up. But at the end of the day, we still need some technology to help us. And I think that, above all, we need the locals there. And we are building good relations with the people at the border, making sure that we take care of their basic needs. And when we do win their confidence, they are the best persons when it comes to checking who is from here, who is from there. Our border is interesting in some places. The hall is in Ghana and the kitchen is in another country. And these are things that we all need to work together to make sure. But yes, we need to work out to make sure that Ebola doesn't come here. We have enough on our hands with COVID that we are working hard, and I believe that we are all playing our part. So I would make sure that we support the effort to keep out Ebola. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Obama.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honorable Nominee, I have with me all the list of legislations that this House passed in the 7th Parliament. And 81st on the list is the Narcotic Control Commission Bill 2019, which you presented and which was duly passed on the 20th of March 2020. Act 1019 was duly assented to on the 11th of May 2020. What is the status of implementation of this very important legislation, which had something to do with medicinal cannabis? What have you? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We have put together a committee to work on it. Honorable Chairman, but we need to make clear what the elements in there are. The impression out there is that we have legalized cultivation of cannabis for recreational use. That is not the case. The things that we have talked about has to do with not just checking cannabis and narcotics, but also when we have users getting into user disorders, we consider them as a health issue. And therefore, rather than incarcerate them, we should send them to a rehabilitation center, which the law has set up the rehabilitation fund to be funded by allocations from Parliament, by donations, and also by 50% of the amounts that we realize from properties that we are going to sell together. So making sure that we see the abuse of cannabis and of course disorders as a health issue, very, very important. We also have got in the same law, working with other agencies to make sure that we find alternative means of livelihood for those who cultivate the narcotics. Cultivating narcotics over the years, made money. It is not going to be easy for us to just take them and throw them away. But beyond that, I think it's Section 43 that does make some provision that where we have cannabis, the dry weight of which is not more than 0.3% THC, which is a chemical in cannabis that has impact on the psychology and behavior of persons, that one, we can cultivate the subject to license for industrial by their seeds and fiber and medicinal. So right now we need to work towards the immigration.
Please, let's get this clear. If I understand you, you're saying that to cultivate the cannabis, one, you need a license. Two, what you cultivate must be 3 TC. Okay, not exceeding 0.3 THC. And then you must also show that you're going to use it for industrial purpose. Is that addition? That's why I want to be sure that it is part of the condition. Otherwise, I just get a license and I use it for other purpose.
We're going to work towards getting operating regulations, which will bring back to Parliament and pass in Parliament. That will give us a detail of how we are going to deal with the matter. So we would come back here and deal with that. But for now, we have a committee working on it to make sure we come. Again, you would remember that in the 7th Parliament, there was collaboration on both sides to come and pass this bill into law. The 6th Parliament did not achieve that, and we are grateful to the effort of the 7th Parliament. And when we did it, this 0.3% engaged us, and I think technical persons on both sides of the aisle contributed to where we got to. We need to work together to get in place the regulations so that we can make sure that the law does achieve the goals for objectives for which we pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman, my last question. We all are often concerned about the spate of armed robberies, all sorts of white-collar crimes, cyber crimes, and what have you. But what we haven't averted our minds to, and also to require of you and government, is the funding that government ought to find for equipping or the construction of a modern forensic laboratory for the police, and also giving them the required arms and ammunition. I don't remember the last time the police came to this house for a facility to procure modern arms and ammunition for their activities. I see you with the heads of prisons, immigration, fire service. What is your plan for re-equipping or building a modern forensic laboratory with properly trained technicians to be able to arrest all those criminals who are engaging with this white-collar crimes? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, first of all, the National Narcotics Commission law provides for an establishment of a forensic laboratory under that. But we at the police, we started with a lab for the CID, which we've got established now, that we are building. We also got specialized vehicles that are mobile investigative setup to be able to manage crime scene and all that. Yes, there was an arrangement for some arms from Czech Republic that we met, which we are still working on, and I'm sure that the situation is improved, but I'll be the first to admit that we need to do more in that direction.
Yes. I don't know why he's not interested.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to ask two main questions. First one bordering on human rights. The second one bordering on management of human resources in the sector. That of human rights, I would take it from prisons. When you look at the 2019 country report on human rights by the USA, this is how they describe our prison conditions. Prison conditions were generally harsh and sometimes life-threatening due to overcrowding, inadequate sanitary conditions, lack of medical care, physical abuse, and food shortages. And when you go to page 3 of the report, it even says that there were not enough toilets available for the prisons, such that as many as 100 prisoners were sharing one toilet. Beyond the rhetorics of we will do something about it, we are going to collaborate to work at it. Do we have some critical timelines to improve the condition of prisoners in Ghana?
Thank you. Honorable Chairman, I must say that the prison situation requires our full attention, and we are giving it as much as we can. First of all, let's take the feeding. Since 2012, the feeding has been fixed at 1 cedi 80. Yes, it's small, but we have areas. And over the years, we're struggling to pay that. What do? We've strengthened the agricultural department of the, and we are trying to do something about that. I have visited the prisons. We could do a lot more, no doubt about that. And that is why, as far as I'm concerned, these amnesties, I can assure you that I want to encourage as much as possible. But this community service law, I believe that is one of the priorities that I'll look at if approved.
But what about infrastructure development for the prison service?
What?
Infrastructure. Building and expanding
that is so.
Facility and improving what goes on, improving budgetary allocations and so on and so forth.
Precisely. First of all, I told you when I was talking about the other agencies, that infrastructure to build, we will need private-public sector collaboration. And the challenge we had at the ministry was that we did not have a legal framework. And if you deal with the law, you want to be the last person to not to do something. I believe there were certain proposals before we came in about private-public sector where some land is given in exchange for infrastructure being put up. We haven't been able to get that done, one, because of the legal framework. So we will go beyond the rhetorics. And I want to say that I'm impressed that I've had 2 members of parliament taking the president's matter is not the thing that most people raise most of the time. And so I'm comforted by that. But I believe that we would, with private public sector collaboration, be able to build structures. Then we can increase the spacing. But more than that, I think we should decongest them and don't rather want to create more spaces for them. So that is where it is. So yes, not much having done. We're building the remand, which I believe is about 70% complete in Sawam. And I want to put on record that certain groupings, like the Pentecost Church, has been one very supportive institution among others, who are providing resources, who are establishing farms, which makes it possible for us to move them out there and for those periods decongest it. But it is a challenge that we cannot.
And as a final clarification of that, so what is the status of the Justice for All program in respect of decongestion of the remand prisons? Justice for All program.
Justice for All program is ongoing. We've got a high court in there is one prison to make sure that we achieve that. And so it's ongoing. It's ongoing, and I think that but there's a lot more to do, and we should work together to achieve it.
Very well. The second major question has to do with the human resources.
No. We've done 3 already. You said 2, you've done 3. Yes, Honorable Member Pat.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable, you have been in office for the past 4 years, from 2017 to you have been in office for the past 4 years, from 2017 to 6th January 2021. I would want you to mention three topmost achievements that you have took in your ministry as a Minister for Interior.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I would say 3 things, positive developments. I won't say I've achieved as an individual, because some of it I need to even share with Parliament. The first thing is the general transformation, starting with the police. And it has also come by because of the support that we get from Parliament, insisting that we get funding to support. So that transformation of making sure that we have better training. Police now, you don't just leave the training and go and rest and rust. You have continuous training. Immigration has developed its training area and is doing very well. Welfare of the workers or the officers is paramount. And we have tried to make sure that the Army and the rest of the security agencies, there isn't so much difference, and we try to make sure we balance that. And so, yes, welfare issues, the empowerment issues are also part of it. The third one, I would say, the working together of security agencies, the police, immigration, even sometimes prisons, the army, working together, collaborating, and making sure that they support the effort towards making Ghana a safe and peaceful place is another achievement that I think I will talk about.
Thank you very much. Honorable Nominee, at the end of last year, talking about the welfare of the security service, at the end of last year,
there were rumors that the security service had been deceived by the withdrawal of salaries promised them. Honorable Nominee, can you throw more light on this issue for clarity? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. That was a serious misunderstanding. There was rationalization of the salary structure of the military. And when that happened, certain analogous positions in the police felt shortchanged. So I had to go to Cabinet to make an appeal that those differences be handled. When Cabinet finally approved it, it said no, we could not at that stage change the salary structure of persons, but we could have a one-time payment of an allowance that would then be taken to have dealt with it so that we end the year and then we can start something fresh. So that was the payment. In December, we then introduced the 10% kit allowance.
Chairman, let me, Minister, the honorable member is seeking to know salary. In your response a while ago, momentarily, you said allowance. Salary is not the same thing as allowance. So address her legitimate concerns that members of the police service in December got certain payments. You say one-off, but certainly it cannot be allowance. If it is salary, let us know. If it is allowance, let us know. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chairman, the misconception is that it was salary. It was not salary. And I am telling the genesis of the problem and how we worked it out. So when finance asked us, the police should be able to tell what the differences over the period of those analogous positions were. It was worked together, and it was decided that it will be paid as a one-time. So it is not a salary.
Chair, so they shouldn't expect anything further than what they got in December.
Honorable Chairman, if the honorable member would listen, that's what I said. We paid that to get to December. Then we've introduced now a 10% kit allowance across.
Chairman, 10% allowance on
kit.
And that allowance, is it on their basic salary? 10% of what, for the record? 10%.
I think 10% of their salary.
Basic salary, yes. Thank you.
So it's going to go across all the agencies. Just as I said, you want to make sure that you establish a standard and continue to develop it across. So for instance, when you get to prisons, I've taxed the prisons that they need to do something about their conditions. When you want to connect prisons positions to analogous positions in the police, you will find one or two positions that are out of place, and it gives us problems. You recall that it is in the 7th Parliament that we passed regulations for the fire service. We've never had regulations for the fire service. And all these go to deal with the conditions. So we are doing something fundamentally across. The next we will deal with prisons and the rest of it. And that will then come up in a manner that is not only that we wait until they are going for the CAPTIN, but we also make sure that
Chairman, again, follow up to me.
But Honorable Chairman, I need to make something. The last time, the Honorable Minority Leader formulated something that I said, he wants to get to where he asked whether the CAPTIN is not on. The CAPTIN is on. But there is a sunset clause for it to lapse. And we want to make sure the sunset clause does not come.
When is that sunset? Chair, with your when is the sunset for CAPTIN? The law has not even been amended. Act 7.
The law is we are going to bring it in the first quarter.
How long must the security personnel of the security agencies expect to be under CAPTIN 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
No. For the rest of their
perpetuity till they retire?
Yeah, it comes into when you retire.
You just use the word till sunset. I want to know the sunset.
What I'm saying is that the law now permits them to be on CAPTIN, but the law was going to migrate them to Senate. And with that, what we're doing now is to amend it to prevent that sunset. So you see, you reminded me of the advocacy in court. You got me that, but I wanted to come to you, but I've got it now to amend for you. Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Ablapa.
Most grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to begin by seeking your leave, Mr. Chairman, to have us watch this production, which gives us the picture in our prisons currently. This is a work done by the award-winning journalist Sir Kwame Boateng. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I seek your leave for us to watch this. It's less than a 6-minute video clip.
You mentioned it to me, showed it to me in the morning.
I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman.
United Nations standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners. All countries have an obligation to observe certain basic human rights standards in their prisons. Standards regarding the conditions of detention must be observed regardless of a state party's level of development. The UN demands a minimum floor space and cubic content of air for each prisoner, adequate sanitary facilities, clothing, which shall by in no manner degrading or humiliating, provision of a separate bed, and provision of food of nutritional value adequate for health and strength. I decide to go around and check how far these standards are being met in this prison. The prison administration is supposed to provide inmates with food of wholesome quality. More than 1 cedi 80 pesos is needed to provide this kind of meal for inmates. For years, prisoners have been fed on 1 cedi 80 pesos daily. Director General of the Ghana Prison Service, Emmanuel Ajato, says this amount is woefully inadequate. Until all these things are done, inmates will continue drinking watery porridge without sugar and either eat their famous gari, which goes with a kind of colored water mixed with palm oil. It's supposed to be palm nut soup, or banku, which goes with what I would describe as improvised granite soup. For first-hand information, the inmates, together with their officers, agreed to lead me to their places of convenience. The stench is extremely unbearable.
Okay, so I have been here for just a few hours. The congestion is just too much. And because as you can hear in the background, they are not very happy. So anytime they see people like us around, they want to tell their stories.
I am struggling to breathe as a result of the stench and heat here, all because I am a first-time visitor. I wonder what asthma patients here go through. The remaining population as of today is 625, and there are only 4 toilets here. Unfortunately, 2 of them are out of use now. This means the 625 inmates here share only 2 toilets. They form long queues in the morning to wait for their turn. At times, they do it on themselves. And just a few steps away from the almost half-full water closet are scores of inmates preparing different kind of food from their make-believe palm nut soup. Before they can eat the gari provided them, they have to sieve and do away with some large particles in the gari. Remember, all these things are taking place not far from their toilet. I wonder what will happen when there is outbreak of cholera.
As you can see, this gentleman is fortunate to have received food from help. Family members were here to visit him, and they brought him food, so he's sharing with his friends here. So it tells the difference between the food they eat here and the one they eat outside.
back at the Kencity prison. It is few minutes past 4 p.m. and it is time for the inmates to be locked up, so officers are conducting their last roll call.
I think that's sufficient. You can close down. Can I ask you a question, please?
Inside the cells, the picture looks horrifying. Human beings packed up in a room with not even an inch space between them.
Yes, you may now ask the minister one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Minister Designate, that's the state of our prisons as reported by Joy News. That's Kwame Boateng's report. That's a year ago. Yeah, from what he tells me. Honorable Minister Designate, he raises issues about congestion, about the low cost for the feeding ration, and then they also speak to the lack of infirmaries, lack of ambulances. So it's just a human rights disaster, very dehumanizing conditions as we have seen. What assurances can you give this committee that we will, as a country, take concrete action to address what clearly is a scar on our conscience?
Honorable Chairman, these pictures are disturbing, but I want to know exactly when it happened. I don't insist that he must say if he doesn't know it, but I want this picture to then go and engage the Director General on these matters. Because I know Kwame has come to me a number of times. I've gone to the prisons. It hasn't been good, but this one is something else. But certainly, I would want to engage the Director General on this. So that, because sometimes when we are making applications to other institutions because if you want amnesty, it's not just making an application. You need to go to Council of State and make a case for it. And so I believe that if this can be made available, I would like to see what the situation is now and how we can use that to help us plan for. But certainly, this is not acceptable. I haven't seen it this much before. I don't know, maybe when I'm going...
Honorable, are you willing to give evidence to him to assist in his investigations?
And if you can
are you willing to give that to him as evidence to assist in his investigations?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would make it available. And I spoke to the journalist this morning. He's also available to assist the honorable nominee. Linked to that honorable nominee is the issue of their infirmaries and then their ration. Do you know the current rate? They've been asking for an increment for some time now, up from the 1 Ghana 80 cedis. Has there been an increment, or is this something you're looking at?
No, there has not been an increment. What we have done is try to meet the 180 and also pay the backlog. We've made applications. So what we did was to get the Ministry of Agriculture to make us part of the planting for food and jobs. And they gave 5 tractors, which we then used to cultivate some food to help. But certainly that's not enough. I'm for an increase, and I'll be glad if we get an increase with your support.
Thank you, Minister. My second question...
I think I need to apologize. I was so taken up that I said you could give it to me tomorrow. I'm not minister yet, but I'm sure that immediately it's possible we will do it together. Thank you.
You are the President's representative at the ministry, so the sense of urgency is admirable, and I think it's positive. Honorable Chairman, this is a double-barreled one. I'm concerned about incessant reports that extreme violence and terrorism appears to be moving down from the Sahel, Burkina Faso. It's getting closer and closer. You are a minister responsible for the interior, our land borders, and for that matter, the Ghana Immigration Service falls directly under your purview. What assurances can you give this committee that working within extreme violence and terrorism framework, you will guarantee the territorial integrity and stability of our country? And if you can also link that to the ongoing investigations by the IGP who chaired the election security task force. He held a press conference after the elections, assuring us that the people who were killed would get some justice. But we have not heard from him since. I think that was in December. That's the last time we heard from the IGP. If you can kindly respond to these two matters.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chairman, the issue of terrorism moving southwest into Ghana, and it towards Ghana, not into Ghana, and its impact, we are beginning to feel it in crime along the borders. You will recall that there was a situation where someone went to the Catholic Church in Hameli and was arrested with a pistol. Then subsequently, there were some arrests in the Upper West. So we're beginning to see a trend where criminals just cross the border, commit offenses, and withdraw. So first, we are engaging our colleagues out there to collaborate with us as much as they can, and that should be emphasized. But the Northern Border Security Project is meant to address this situation. We have decided that there will be about 15 FOBs along the border and to the eastern side and the western side. The first line will be of immigration officers. Then behind that, we have the military to be called in when we think that the backup is necessary. And then also, we're beginning to deploy in the two upper regions where we didn't have the presence of soldiers on a permanent basis to be able to do that. The issue is that we need to address the over 200 unofficial routes, unapproved routes, you call them. So we are saying that apart from these FOBs, we have setups. And that is where we need the collaboration of the citizenry. And they are very cooperative. When you go there and they know you've cut a road, you brought them water, then they can begin to cooperate with you. So yes, this is a project that we think is going to cabinet and be approved. Now we think that we should be getting close to that. And that is one of the first things that we hope within the first 100 to 200 days we can begin to push. It is real. The intelligence agencies are doing a good job and we are tracking whatever is happening. But no doubt, they are also exacerbating the situation of crime within the communities just south of the border. So yes, it's a thing that we need to fight, and that's why we are beginning to have pushing a number of people up there. And we have a challenge of people not wanting to go to certain deprived areas all over the country, not just the north, all over the country. And we are working a scheme that would encourage police to go there. And I think the last pleas that were passed out, I'm told they send them all there, and immigration also did the same. So yes, it's a real thing, and we need to work together to make sure that we fill in the gap, otherwise we will be in trouble. Part is there. The police, yes, the police leads the election task force. It has been so, whichever party is in power, and that shows that the politicians don't try to interfere in things as they happen. Yes, I wish to take this opportunity to express my condolences to all those who lost families who lost their relatives in this whole exercise. And I am also for, because, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, in these matters, it could happen to anybody. I mean, a gunman enters a town and he's firing. There are no political colors there. And therefore, it's a threat to all of us. And my insistence is that they must do a good job of the investigation. But sometimes, Mr. Honorable Chairman, while working at it, I think that we can also sometimes recognize that our situation is not that bad. We want to give praise to God for it. Because if we look at the elections, lives were lost, not acceptable. We should work towards zero loss of lives. But we had 6 spots where violence involved guns. Honorable Chairman, our colleagues in our neighboring country said our election was boring. It was not eventful. But we Ghanaians have set the standards, and that we would insist that the police make sure that we raise the bar higher by making sure that we bring all those who perpetrated to book. So yes, I'm for it. And it has always been my stand that these things should be thoroughly investigated. And I can assure you that given the note, I would insist that.
Chairman, just before the Honorable Blakwa, let me indulge you. Minister, in your answer, you have said condolences and sympathies. You didn't use condolences. You said sympathies to those families. Beyond sympathies, will you assure them the pursuit of justice?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Except that I said it in general terms. Let me now tell the relatives of the deceased that we will do all in our power to make sure that all those who perpetrated those acts, criminal acts, are brought to book. Yes, you have my assurance. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, finally, I want to raise the matter of the killing of the journalist, the investigative reporter Ahmed Hussein Swale. Last month was exactly 2 years since his brutal murder. It has affected our international rankings so far as press freedom credentials are concerned, and it's a blight on our human rights credentials as well. I see all the international reports, the Amnesty report, the U.S. State Department Human Rights Report released on 27 November 2020, all referring to the unresolved killing of Ahmed Hussein Swale. There has been no update to the nation in about a year. The fear is that this is becoming a cold case. What do you have by way of update, and what assurances can you give this committee that if approved, you will pursue this matter assiduously so that the perpetrators of this heinous crime will be brought to justice?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, believe me, last Wednesday was the last time I asked for an update. Last Wednesday was the last time I asked for an update from the CID director. And he said that they were working on certain aspects of it. Look, we all need to work towards establishing these cameras. Because if you listen to the scenario that was painted, if we picked those people on camera, we would have made greater progress. But as at last Wednesday, there have been certain aspects of it, the limited technological thing that we had. Expert advice was sought externally and inputs have come back. We pray that happens. It is not the case that it has died. Just Wednesday, I asked that. And I was told they got a volume or something. We prayed that it happens. You recall that in the case of our colleague, paid colleague, Fansimam, you know, the available pieces of technology that we had, and we're trying to see how much we can get from that. So the case is not dead. And I can assure that we want to get to the bottom of the matter.
So,
Please,
Chairman,
related
to that,
no chance.
Just related to Ameswale, a Kohiford, a colleague MP, murdered by armed robbers, Honorable J.B. Dankwa, Member of Parliament, murdered. It's taking years. Justice delayed, it is said, is justice denied. How will you, in guaranteeing and assuring journalists generally of the general safety and protection of all Ghanaians, what is the status of this particular case affecting our colleagues who were murdered?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. I think that the cases of our colleagues losing their lives is part of the general problem that we need to solve. Honorable Chairman, for instance, in the case of the enforcement, we got certain pieces of evidence that got us the links immediately. In the case of J.B. Dankwa, we took off from where the last government left off, and we've been trying as much as we can. But the important thing is that we have to be proactive while we solve this problem, so that we don't end up always reacting. And that has to do with first increasing the numbers of police, giving us the protection that we need. I think it's some of the things that we should not joke about. But certainly, those cases are not dead. I can assure you, we collaborated with the Attorney General. We did to reenact things, but I can assure you that the CID has improved greatly recently, and you can see a lot of professionalism working, and we are not going to allow any of those cases to die. Otherwise, you and I are not safe. But I must emphasize that the security and safety of the individual Ghanaian citizen and resident is paramount and as important as these specific cases that we are discussing. Thank you, Honorable.
If you will have the last slide. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nominee Senior Deba, somebody that I've known since my childhood. You, in your answer in relation to the recruitment, said that so many young people applied, about 10,000, and
tens of thousands, not 10,000.
Tens of thousands.
Some 80,000 members.
Yeah, tens of thousands.
Yes.
And then you referred the matter, or you were invited by the Council of State.
I was summoned, but I didn't refer.
You were summoned by the
Council of State.
And then they are the ones who advised that you keep that list of the tens of thousands that applied that year. And then every year you draw from that number to recruit. Is that what you are doing? Is that the practice that you are engaged in now?
Honorable Chairman, I need to be more elaborate about what happens. We have done the online recruitment, and there was a hue and cry, and I believe, Honorable, you were in the country at the time. So when I was invited there, they took me through series. Number one, they said it was a ripoff. How much administrative fees did they pay? I made it clear to them that when I took office, the last recruitment, the administrative fee was 100 cedis. And the commanders had come to the meeting at the ministry to propose an increment to 150. Number one, I turned down the 150, and number two, I slashed the 100 to 50. So they said, fine, that is good. But what difference does it make when we see our people the way they were? So you apply for 80,000, apply for 1,000 jobs. What do you do about it? I went with my commanders there, and then they did not direct me. But what were we to do? Have another recruitment online? Have another set of tens of thousands? So, in that discourse, we promised that we were going to, as much as possible, use that data, and it was agreed, and we came out. I don't want to say that they directed me, but Honorable Chairman, this matter has been discussed severally. The commanders came to the Committee on Defense and Interior to explain their situation. So I was only explaining what was seen as a trend that was unusual, and these are the unusual circumstances. I'm not by that saying that that will be the modus going forward, but I'm explaining what transpired. And Honorable Chairman, it is important to emphasize that I did not and I do not recruit. The recruitments are done by the agencies. But if you listen to the airwaves, I've been bashed severally over. My only concern is that it feeds a certain misconception that allows fraudsters to dupe unsuspecting Ghanaians that there are protocol forms in the ministry. Beyond that, I think the technical heads, if you want a report, should be in a position to give you a report. I don't partake in recruiting them, but I was explaining the situation.
You're speaking into the mic so we can hear
I'm saying I'm here to ask you my actual question, because I'm just trying to recall what you said here.